All right, good morning. This is Rev Bruce. We're starting off with coffee and chat today, just a little earlier. Get a little something done. Um, and I just want to share something today. Think about it like this: we have the power to accomplish so many things. Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, said it this way: victory is always possible to the person who refuses to stop fighting. That you can always have victory if you never give up. Somebody today, you might want to quit, you might want to give in and cave in, but victory is still possible. Victory is still yours. It's still a possibility. You just have to continue. You just have to endure. Refuse to stop fighting. That's part of it. And so, I want to help somebody today. Somebody move along and get stronger today. And so part of that also goes to Larry Burkett. Larry Burkett, famous Christian finance author. He and Ron Blue working together in what eventually became Crown Ministries that a lot of churches implement. And what Larry Burkett said in his book, Business by the Book, he said a successful person is one who accomplishes goals and is able to enjoy the fruits of them. And when we think about success, you need to define success for yourself. You need to make sure that you know for you and all of what you have going on, what exactly is success for you? What does that look like? What does that seem like to you? How is that, coming off in your journal, in your diary, in your planning? And so when you think about success, what are those accomplishments? You've heard guests come on here before and talk about um, SMART goals and how are you getting things done, how are you tackling things, how are you getting things done in a timely manner. And so when you talk about that, Larry Burkett offers something in Business by the Book. I've read the book probably 3 or 4 times myself. It's a book that speaks about not just how Christians should do business, but also what others think about Christians and churches and how they do business with them or don't do business with them. And so think about that. He gives a lot of principles in the book, not just for business owners and small business development, but also for those who are looking to join the workforce as Christians and to succeed in the workplace. And finally, Brother Lawrence said something that, encapsulates it all. He says, all things are possible to the person who believes. If nothing else, you need to believe in yourself. If nothing else, you need to believe that God has you set up for what you're going after. And if anything gets in the way, take those as lessons learned, take those as tests and trials, but your belief is attached to your possibility. And so I say that because in all that we're trying to do and all that we're trying to say, there's so much that's interlinked, interwoven, that as we shift to this is going to be another time, right? As we shift to chasing our dreams and making those a reality, this is going to be another time where what you depend upon, what you believe, is going to truly matter. And so my guest today is Kymberly Taylor from Tailor Made Agency, and we're going to bring her up, and she's going to share a little bit about herself and Tailor Made before we get into the interview.
Good morning. I am Kymberly Taylor, I am the director of Tailor Made Agency, and Tailor Made Agency was an agency designed for independent educational consultants. We come together, we build wraparound services around each and every one of our clients. We are known as the education concierge, which is basically meeting the needs and providing the resources of each student that we take on as a client. We provide services from kindergarten all the way through college graduation. We make sure that they know how to write their personal statements in the application process. If they choose to go to college, we make sure they know how to do resumes. We make sure as a young person that they're ready for prime time, because kindergarten through eighth grade are the years of preparation to get to those last 4 years of high school, to make sure that they're leveling up to be ready for game time. And game time is when they're out there in college or out there in the workforce and being able to successfully navigate college or career depending on their choice.
All right, so thank you for that, Jim. And when we talk about educational consulting, right?
Mhm.
Um, this is interesting. You're a child of a educator. Did you feel motivated to go into education based upon that example, or was it something that was in addition to that?
Truthfully, no, it was not based upon, because my mother was a teacher and she was a dynamic teacher. I went into education because it was what gave me my first job out of college. So I wanted to be an actress and I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist. But when I graduated from college, that wasn't the case because I had to be able to get a job and pay my bills according to my mother, and she gave me a certain time. So when I started in education, it was at a private school, Christian school. And it was interesting because I knew I didn't want to work with the little kids because they cried. But then I moved up to sixth grade, and sixth grade was amazing. I loved the middle school age. After that, I transitioned into working with the juvenile, detention center. And from there, it was an interesting road, working inside of the juvenile detention center. But I literally fell in love with education when I became an educational counselor and was able to help maneuver the pathways and support the young people in their choices.
So let's think about it this way. You've taught, like you said, in a wide variety of educational settings and environments. And which would you say was the toughest to navigate for you, and why?
I think the toughest for me would be working in the juvenile detention center out in Alpine. And the reason why that was the toughest is because I had to leave the children there. When I went to work, I got, buzzed in, checked in, and the gate shut. When I left the children there. I didn't see any results because they were locked up. And some of them were locked up for years on top of years. So that was the toughest because I didn't see the results of whatever design that we came up with the young people. They had desires, they had wishes and hopes, but I never got to see them fulfilled because I'm not sure, how long they actually stayed locked up. But when they did get out, did they actually follow through on the plan?
Wow. And so when you were dealing with juveniles, your you went into the detention center, and out of that, you also were trying to provide them something, but each day you had to turn around and leave them in the system with no real reinforcement to what you were providing them.
Right.
Okay.
It was hard because you can come up with a plan, but you have to realize, and what I didn't realize at that young age for myself is you had to break the barriers in their mind first, because
Mm-hmm.
they're used to living a certain way, they're used to navigating the system in a certain way. But when they're locked up, they play the game. And when they're released, or over the time period, do they actually make the changes that they say they're going to make, or are they back on the streets, doing what they originally did to get them locked up?
All right. And so here's part of it that I want to clarify. Um, we talk a lot about with COVID-19 and the whole pandemic and students having to go virtual or remote, distance learning, and a lot of that has brought out what people would call inequities and disparities in education as far as access to the internet and things of that nature, even hardware and equipment, just to match up with what's being asked of them by school teachers. And so when we speak about equity in education, what are most schools getting wrong in your experience?
That's a huge question, Reverend Bruce. um, so, equity, there was never equity across the board in the school system. We have been experiencing inequities forever. Inequities existed before COVID-19. I think COVID-19 just exposed them a little more so that the parents and school districts and people who are the stakeholders in education see it just a little more. Inequity, you asked me what is the schools getting wrong? That is a good question. I think that sometimes you have to pull the band-aid off of the inequity and really see it for what it is, and really take it to heart that this is where we are failing our students. If not every student group is succeeding in your school, then we have failures. Even though failure is not an option, we still have to look at it, and we have to dissect it, and we have to put our money where we say our heart is, and that's with our kids. And I think when the band-aid is ripped off and the exposure is there, and we are able to look and see this is where we are not succeeding as well, I think that school districts or schools will then be able to put their money and their resources in that field so that you can see the growth of the young people. Because if you don't support them, you don't provide the resources for them, then the inequity will still be there. No matter how you sugarcoat it, and it will still exist.
So what would you say is the most common challenge across the spectrum of education with building equity?
Making sure that every student has what they need in order to be successful. When you're looking at equity, you're not what's the word? They always show this picture where you have a fence and you have the people on the different boxes to get there. Well, when you're looking at equity, there's another picture that takes down the fence, and it says, this student needs this amount, and this student may need more than
Mhm.
the student to the right, but this student to the right still may need some resources, just not as much as the student to the left. So if you provide everybody with the resources that they need, then I think, the equity will begin to form. But I think the hardest thing is assessing what resources are needed for every single child, because that means you have to sit down and you have to get to know the child, you have to get to know the parents, you have to get to know where that family comes from, what is actually available in the home, and that requires vulnerability from the parent segment, that requires vulnerability from the student segment of telling, exactly what they need. And sometimes parents don't want you in their business. So I think, it's a combination of things.
Okay. And given that, it sounds like a lot of the basis of getting to equity could start with relationship building.
Definitely. That is like the very key foundation of reaching the what is it, the success of equity, is making sure you know who you service. I know that we attended the multiple tier conference in Orange County a couple of I think it was about a year ago, and they had a workshop about know your name, or know the name of your students. If you don't know the name of your students, if you don't know, who they are, where they are, pronounce their name right, where they came from, then you don't know how to connect with them, build that relationship with them, and be able to ultimately help them get to where they need to go in the success realm.
But hold on. If I'm a middle school teacher and I see 4 or 5 classes of 30 plus students, you're telling me I need to know their names?
Yes. And it's not hard. It's not hard at all, because that student is in your class for 55 minutes, roughly a day. And if you design your classroom with the freedom of getting to know your kids and going around and making sure that each child has met whatever standards that you are teaching, it is not hard to get to know 166 students and know them by name and know their parents' names, know what's going on with them. And I've done it, and I know teachers. I know teachers who do it every single year. They know their students, they know where they come from, and they support them.
So let's be honest, right? That's a possibility, right? And people just have to meet the challenge for that possibility. So when we talk about the inequities that exist, who suffers the most from these inequities that you've seen?
African American students. At this point, we are suffering the most. We are at the bottom of all data, the lowest scoring students across the nation. And the question is, this has been going on for years. So, because this has been going on for years, when are we going to rip the band-aid off and figure out why it is that we keep scoring lower than any other ethnic group in that we service in our districts nationwide? There's a reason why, but are we ready to face the reason why? And are we ready to figure out in every school what it is and how we can best serve our African American students?
So in today's light of campaigns and activities and things going on right now, so I guess the caveat would be it's not just that Black Lives Matter, but also Black minds and Black education matters as well.
Truthful. That is so truthful. We love the Black Lives Matters movement, but our Black minds definitely matter, because if our children do not change the trajectory in which our African American population is moving in, this is not going to be good for us. Because right now, again, we are scoring at the lowest end with the COVID-19. The inequity that we have has been exposed even the more. And parents are beginning to see it even the more, as well as us that, serve our students. And it could be for various number of reasons. But yes, our Black lives matters, but our Black minds matter, because if we service the mind and we teach our children, educate our children, and get them to the level playing ground that we know that they can achieve at, the trajectory of our Black lives will change.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So when we look at your consulting and what you've been able to offer youth and families in the realm of education, what is it about those offerings that stand out for you?
For me, it is providing support and resources outside of the regular education system. We live busy lives, and parents who have multiple children, they live busy lives. They're trying to balance out their work life, they're trying to balance out their kids' lives and everything else that goes along with it. So with Tailor Made Agency, we provide that support system. For instance, if you are an elementary student and you know that you are having a couple of different challenges in your school, whether it's in reading or math, we have reading specialists that can diagnose you to see what levels you are, provide an individual education plan for you, and provide those free support services for you, but also different virtual support services that a young person may need to help make it fun for them to learn how to read. If you are in middle school and you know that organization may be your challenge and you're having a hard time figuring out, you move from one teacher to now you have 6 different teachers because you have 6 different periods. Well, we take the time to help build the organization, make you feel comfortable entering into the middle school arena. One thing for middle school is they have to learn how to go into a PE class and change into PE clothes, learn how to do the lot, all within a 10-minute period of time. You got to go in there, change your clothes, get back out on your number and be ready for your class. So we help walk them through that so the anxiety level is not there. If you're in high school, 9th through 11th grade, we help you level up to getting ready to be a senior, making sure you're choosing the right classes, making sure if you are challenged in a class that you have tutoring to support that. As a senior, we make sure you are ready for the game. We make sure you know how to write a personal statement, write an academic resume, do a work resume, get your letters of personal statement, interview, so that when you leave high school, you are ready to enter the game of whether it's a college access or it will be a career access. Either one, we make sure you are prepared for that. And then we still connect. We always say we're building an empire, because an empire of young, inspired people that are out there ready to go and change the world.
So you said a lot right there, and one of the things that you mentioned was the individual education plan. And so, how are you able to present that without the stigma of special education and that there's something wrong with me?
Special education students, they have different, I call them maybe barriers or different bumpers in the road, but that does not mean that they cannot learn. I have worked personally and have witnessed my colleagues work personally with various special education students to help them succeed. We have special education students who have been told that they can't go to college, but yet they have gone to college and they have been successful. They have graduated, and I mean, they're doing well out there in the world. You just have to know where to sit down and have that conversation with the parent and with the student and be able to encourage them and be able to give them the support that they need in the subject areas that they need or wherever they claim their disability is, you support them in that and grow them and teach them how to work with that and work through that so that they're able to succeed out there in the real life, in the real world.
So how would you describe that pathway to college for, most underserved, low income children? What does that look like today?
It's a lot. A student that wants to go to college, it's not an easy path. When you are on a path, it's a curvy, windy, hilly road. You have to be able to know how to navigate through the system. You're going to experience potholes. And when you experience potholes in the street, you have a choice. You can walk, you can put your foot in the pothole. You can walk around the pothole. You can jump over the pothole. But whatever it is, you got to get on the other side of the pothole, which makes it building resistance for our young people. And if you know how to begin to navigate through the system and you know how to set your goals, you know how to make a plan, you know how to execute the plan, and you have that support and the resources to do that, it makes the pathway going to college just a little easier. Because when you get to college, you'll remember, oh, I've hit this bump before. I know how to attack it and be able to become successful after it.
So I do a little club, that at the school that I work with, called Girls Who Code. And what Girls Who Code does is they actually provide images of women in tech, and they share how, surprising to me, in one instance that women represent nearly half of the people who are playing video games, but only 7% of those that actually develop video games.
Wow.
This disparity, they're able to expose it. How is the exposure that TaylorMade provides students, how does that help them gain more access to resources and information about getting on that pathway to college and career?
The first thing that what you had said is about exposure. We really, really, really try to connect our young people with people in the field in which they want to go to. Just this past week, I had former college students, former students that I have worked with. Some were still in college and some have graduated from college. And they came on the Zoom to meet with the students that are getting ready to go into their senior year. And some of them had the same field and some of them didn't, but I wanted them to see someone who had been where they were and have experienced some of the things that they experienced so that they know if they can do it, then I can do it too. And it was an amazing time of showing young people that somebody that's in coding, if it's a female, then you show those females the other females that have made it successfully in there, which hopes to spark their interest even more. And that is building a relationship. It goes back to building that relationship, because if I'm connected to the resources that I need, or I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, you will always be able to see yourself in different arenas to be able to be successful.
So it goes back to that whole 6 degrees of separation. That you may not be directly connected to someone, but through an effort like yours with TaylorMade and the boot camps and things of that nature to get geared up for game time, you actually can, as you say, serve as a concierge and provide that opportunity for young people.
Okay? Yes.
All right, cool. So all that put together, what advice would you give someone who is challenged with completing high school, whether it be out of school youth or an adult that's looking to go back and get their high school diploma, degree, or GED, any of that?
I would say don't quit. Keep trying. It is a self-fulfilling reward when you get a high school diploma. You walk differently. You hold your shoulders back differently. When you accomplish something that people either have told you you can accomplish or you feel like you couldn't accomplish it, just keep going. Keep going. Failure is never an option, and we should never allow it to be an option. Just keep going. Try again until you receive your reward, because receiving that reward is going to make you build resilience. It's going to make you see yourself in a different light. You earned this, you did this, you completed this, but it's also going to open up more doors and take you to the next level of wherever it is you're trying to go, whether it is a career move or just a personal gain.
So, listen, I know you got to go, and I just want to thank you for all of this. And I want to wrap up with asking you two questions. And I'll just start with the first. What inspires you to continue to work with youth today? You mentioned the justice system and working within the justice system and having to leave them there, and that being a tough angle, and you've seen the level of inequity that is there for African Americans in the school system. What is inspiring you to still work with youth today?
I think the main reason why I continue to work with the young people is because I believe that every young person has the will, the knowledge, and the opportunity to succeed. And being able to see them on the other side of their success has really encouraged me to continue to do what it is that I do. There has never been a time where I can't say that it's been easy, but it's a challenge. When you get a young person who really has been filled with negative thoughts, negative inspiration, negative everything, and you make one deposit, and it may be me depositing the seed and somebody else watering the seed, and then someone else seeing that the seed has flourished. When that young person comes back or emails you or hits you up on Facebook and says, "Oh my gosh, Miss Taylor, you were tough on me, but I know now what you were trying to say." That is why I continue to work with you, because there has to be somebody there that they can trust, somebody that they know that's never going to give up on them, and someone that that is there for them to be able to be connected outside of their circle of life.
So I appreciate that. And the final question is, right here. And what would you say to today's youth about chasing their own dreams?
I would say dream big, set a plan, execute the plan one step at a time, never give up. Remember that failure is not an option. No matter how many potholes is in the road, you can get through them, whether you got to jump in the pothole to get to the other side, whether you have to walk around the pothole to get to the other side, or whether you just have to say, you know what, right here, I'm going to have to take a moment and figure it out to get to the other side. But never stop. Never give up on yourself. No matter what negative inspiration is spoke in to you, you never have to let it go in you. and be able to be positive. If you have to give positive affirmations, put them on your mirror, put them in your phone, wherever it is, and speak life into yourself so that when you accomplish something, you know that it is your season and your time in order to get to where you need to go.
Well, let the church say amen. All right.
Amen.
That's all right. That's all right. And I just want to say I appreciate you taking the time out to share with us and the audience, and hopefully someone has a better understanding of not just tailor-made agency and what it provides to families and youth, but also what the current status of the educational system is as far as educational equity goes. And I appreciate you coming in here and being truthful and honest and pretty much transparent. And I won't tell your mama what you said about your motivation, but I will let you know it is on the record. It is on the record.
Okay. Thank you so much.
As the preacher said, we'll let the record reflect that a testimony has been given, and so like I said, I'm appreciative, and when we have our our educational panel, I'd like to invite you back and have further discussion with some other educators about what are some things that can be done or also should be done as we continue to move forward with what we know now. So,
yes.
I definitely want to thank you. Appreciate it. Listen, everybody, this has been a very open conversation and discussion about what is going on educationally, but also what you can do about it. Don't feel powerless. Don't feel like you can't do anything because the odds are against you. Continuously fight, like I started with. Don't stop fighting. Keep going to the victory. Like Ms. Taylor said, continue. Don't give up. Get away from them roadblocks. Be an overcomer, right? The difference is you don't have to be an overachiever, but you need to be an overcomer. Overcome those excuses. Overcome that past. Overcome those haters. You be an overcomer and see what comes out as the outcome. All right? Listen, God bless y'all. It's been another Coffee and Chat with Rev Bruce. Thank you, Ms. Taylor and Tailor Made. And amen.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.